Chapter 2 Living Again. Annie! Jack shouted. No one is here! She shouted back. Jack thought about going home. Then he thought about all the books and the treehouse. He started up the ladder. When he was almost at the top, he saw light in the distant sky. Dawn was starting to break. Jack crawled through a hole in the treehouse floor and took off his backpack and shined her flashlight on the books scattered about the floor. They are still here, she said, and he shined the light on a dinosaur book. It was the book that had taken them to the time of dinosaurs. Remember the Tyrannosaurus Rex? Asked Annie. Jack shuddered. Of course he remembered. How could anyone forget seeing a real live Tyrannosaurus Rex? The light fell on a book about Pennsylvania. A red silk bookmark stuck of it. Remember the picture of Frog Creek? Said Annie. Of course, said Jack. That was the picture that had brought them all home. There's my favorite, said Annie. The light was shining on a book about knights and castles. There was a blue leather bookmark in it. Annie turned to the page with the bookmark. There was a picture of the knight on a black horse. He was riding toward the castle. Annie, close that book, said Jack. I know what you were thinking. Annie pointed at the cover. Don't, Annie, said Jack. We wish that we could go there. Annie said, No, we don't, shouted Jack. The wind began to moan. The leaves began to tremble. It was happening again. We are leaving, cried Annie. Get down. Get down. The wind moaned louder. The leaves shook harder. Jack squeezed his eyes shut. The treehouse started to spin. It spun faster and faster. Then everything was still, absolutely still. Jack opened his eyes. He shivered. The air was damp and cool. The sound of a horse whinny came from below. Nee! I think we are here, whispered Annie. She was still holding the castle book. Jack peeked out the window. A huge castle loomed out of the fog. Jack looked around. The treehouse was in a different oak tree. Look, said Annie. Down below, a knight on a black horse was riding by. Oh man, said Jack, that's incredible. But we can't stay here. We have to go home and make a plan first. He picked up the book about Pennsylvania. He opened it to the page with the red silk bookmark. He pointed to the photograph of Frog Creek Woods. I wish, no, said Annie. She yanked the book, Annie, away from him. Let's stay. I want to visit the castle. You are not. We need to examine the situation, said Jack, from home. Let's examine it here, said Annie. Come on, Annie. Jack held out his hand. Give it. Annie gave Jack the book. Okay, you can go home. I'm staying, she said. She clipped the flashing to her belt. Wait, said Jack. I'm going to take a peek. A teeny peek, she said. And she scooted down the ladder. Jack groaned. Okay, anyone. He couldn't live without her. Besides, he sort of wanted to take a peek himself. Jack put down the book about Pennsylvania. He dropped the castle book into his bag. He stepped it onto the ladder and headed into the cool, misty air.